Did you know that UTIs could be a sign that you could have diabetes? Yes, I know. So when I was first diagnosed, at the age of 5, I was urinating frequently. I was drinking lots of water. I was very irritable. My mum noticed that I wasn't playing with the other kids. Now, those symptoms were pretty clear, but at the same time, you can also overlook it. You're like, she's a kid. She doesn't want to hang out with others. Maybe she's a bit moody. Now, these symptoms can happen at any age. So, a lot of times, especially women of color, women who are handling so much in this day that we're living in, this day and age, these symptoms can be overlooked. You might start looking at fatigue and exhaustion as just part of lifestyle factors. You've got too much on your plate, and you can just overlook that you could have a symptom of diabetes that showing that you either already have diabetes or you are pre-diabetic. Another symptom is weight loss. You might just be thinking, oh, this is actually very welcome. I'm losing some weight. The pounds are shedding. I must be doing something right. But these are symptoms and signs that you could have something more deep underlying as an issue. Weight loss and irritability in women can be overlooked for these reasons, but they could signify something deeper. Weight loss and irritability can be overlooked for these reasons, but they could be early signs of diabetes. So in England, 50% of those between the ages of 16 and 44 who have type 2 diabetes don't even know it. So it's undiagnosed. They have no idea. The stats are insane. So something at a deeper level could already be manifesting and getting you sick as a lifestyle disease. So you can actually change your lifestyle for this. And it could be making you sick. You could be losing a limb, you might be causing heart damage, you could be causing kidney damage for something that you don't even know. Your body is tired because it's trying to push against the grain. Like if you got high sugars, I say it's like honey. So imagine your blood running through your body. That blood is thick, it's like sticky like honey, and now it's supposed to go through your head and it's supposed to go into your heart and it's supposed to power the body. And it can't do that. Your little cells, your blood cells are like, bro, why are we here? It's so tiring for them. So that's going to have an effect on the whole body. You are going to feel so tired because the body cannot function correctly. It's not getting its oxygen, it's not getting its nutrients because the sugars create such a toxic environment. And that fatigue is often normalized. We usually normalize this, especially in today's way in which we live, the way we work. It's normalized, but actually our body is trying to tell us that there's something wrong at a deeper level. So what are the signs of diabetes or pre-diabetes? Fatigue, as we mentioned. Thirst, but when I mean thirst, I mean like wanting to guzzle, like when you drink water out of a bottle or a glass, you want to like eat that glass. Obviously, then frequent urination. And also, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, frequent UTIs. I mean, one-off, it's fine, it happens, And why I'm saying frequent UTIs is because yeast likes sugar, right? So it makes sense. So if you're having a lot of UTIs, it could be a sign that you may be pre-diabetic. And also with that, if you have decreased intimacy feelings, that makes sense because you're also dry there because you're so thirsty, you're dry down there, you're fatigued, you're also moody, so you're not going to be in that mood. And we just talked about this. I had a workshop recently about diabetes and intimacy and your relationships. So if you're in these places and you're like, well, my life is good, I'm working hard, I'm making the money, I'm eating well, and I'm losing weight, but then you don't feel like being close with your partner, if you have a partner, it might be a sign. You might be having frequent UTIs. You're like, how is this happening? It could be because you have high blood sugars. So this is something you should definitely get checked out. It's simple, a simple blood test, an HbA1c, which is what they do over a 3-month period. It's a fasting blood glucose test if you are a type 2 diabetic or if you are undiagnosed. But if you're a type 1 diabetic, you're going to have to do that having taken your insulin in the morning. So just FYI, if you are a type 1 and the nurse or the doctor tells you to get a fasting blood glucose, please inform them because there's so much misinformation out there, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So if you don't know if you have diabetes, or if you do know you have type 2 or it runs in the family, a fasting blood glucose test and the HbA1c. And if they can do it together, the HbA1c as a fasting blood test first thing in the morning, you're good. If your energy crashes after meals, it's not stress. It could mean that you have a high blood glucose level. Now, after 2 hours and then it drops, that's normal. It happens. But if it just stays high the whole time and then you start feeling those symptoms of thirst, irritability, tiredness, you could just have a high blood sugar after the meal. It has to drop after 2 hours. But if it's not, it could be a sign about diabetes. Maybe your pancreas is sputtering and it works fine in the morning, but then later in the day it's starting to slow down. That's wear and tear of your pancreas. So potentially you could be having type 2. It could also be the honeymoon phase of type 1 diabetes, when as it's an autoimmune disorder, I like to say a condition actually, it's stopping and starting, but it's got nothing to do with wear and tear. It's just the cells, the white blood cells, are killing off the islets of Langerhans, the very fancy words that we use here. But I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible for the everyday person, because all these big words scare people. Honestly, I don't know why they can't just make it so simple. So that's what I'm doing, because I know when I was growing up with all of this, I didn't have all this information. And I'm sorry, I did have all this information, but I was like, why are we using these big words? Like, I can't even explain this to my friends, so then they're going to look at me weird, and then I feel like the weird one here. So if I made it really simple, they would get it. So that's what I'm doing. So how I've explained diabetes to my friends and family over years is what I'm doing here for you, because there's, number one, misinformation out there, but number two, that's as a result of all these big words for people who are in the medical field, but yet diabetes is everywhere in the world. We have to make the information as commercial as possible. And I've been doing this for the longest time because I didn't want to feel out of place. And I'm sure most people who are undiagnosed, who have prediabetes or have just been diagnosed, don't even know how to explain it themselves. And that's part of the stigma. So people are like, I'm just not going to tell anyone. But if you just explain it the way I've explained it, it makes things more relatable, and it's easier for you to understand yourself, but also easier to explain to someone else. So as a result, there's a lot of systemic biases, there's a lot of cultural factors involved. I mean, I've lived in Zambia my whole life with, this, and no one around me had diabetes. And now, years later, when people do have diabetes, there's so much stigma around it, they don't talk about it. And also, it's not, I guess the information out there is not related to, or it doesn't resonate with a lot of people of color. A lot of the information online is English foods, American foods. There's nothing that talks about chapatis and fufu and, tortillas, like food from communities of color where we eat together. It is carb dense, but it's also organic and it's also healthy in its own way. And that's because a lot of the tests that they've done around diabetes, all the research for years has been in Caucasian groups and male groups. So there's so many areas that they've missed, like in terms of UTIs. They don't talk about this as much as they talk about the other factors. These are symptoms which we should be looking out for, Something I learned during the pandemic is in the luteal phase of the different phases of your menstrual cycle, that's when you have the highest insulin resistance. I didn't understand why my sugars were going high. I was eating the same thing and I was doing the same activities, and yet my sugars were just skyrocketing when I just smelled something. Until I realized the female cycles have different effects on the body. That's how, those who have PCOS have so much insulin resistance. Suddenly they may have to take insulin, or there's certain ways in which they have to conduct themselves in order for their hormones not to keep playing up. All of this comes together, but if the research has not been done on women or women of color, we're not going to be able to see these things, and especially in communities of color where we don't really talk about these kinds of things. You don't talk about your women's cycles. You don't go to the temple when you're on your period. You don't tell anyone you're on your period. So how do you even talk about your health in any other way if your aunties are going to say to you, don't come for prayers when all you actually needed was community to go and talk to about what you're going through. So do you see, you're kind of stuck everywhere from the research part because you're not feeling supported there, and then community-wise because of the cultural stigma, you're not supported there. So that's why I'm here doing this. I'm your big sister trying to make things as clear as possible because I've gone through it. And I'm here still today, 30 years later, God willing, to help you guys, because helping you guys helps me, you know? So this is another way in which us as women and women from cultural communities, we're holding so much, like our bodies are not working, not functioning correctly, and we have nowhere to go as well. And then you have to look after the kids, and then your family, and then your auntie, and then you've got your day job, and then you want to have a side hustle. It's exhausting. So even me, I mean, I had clear symptoms, but do you see how adult women struggle to have their symptoms taken seriously? It's because of everything I've just mentioned. It's insane. So what I suggest you do is after every meal, those usually that are carb rich, which we tend to eat in communities of color, from your chapatis to fufu to tortillas to rice, potatoes, yams, check your bloods. Even if you're not diabetic, you can easily get one of those blood testing meters and just check your bloods after meals, just about 2 hours after. Choose your carb-rich meal. So I would suggest your lunch times because you are going to be active throughout the day. If you do it after dinner, you are going to be most likely seated unless you're doing, I don't know, evening exercises. But you are less likely to burn it off in the evenings. So I suggest you take your lunchtime, check your blood 2 hours after, and just monitor it. Do it, and don't do it randomly. If you're going to have your lunch at 1 o'clock every day, then check your bloods at 3 o'clock every day and do it for a week. Don't one day have it at 12:30, another day you have it at 2:30. Try and do it the same time, just to make things easier. If your job is in such a way where things keep changing, then when you do eat, put an alarm on your phone. I mean, I put everything on my Apple Watch. Put an alarm on your Apple Watch for 2 hours. If your meal is arriving at 1:30, at 3:30, put it there. So then you check your bloods at that point. See if your sugars are above 10, 12, like that. And then again, if you are able to, check after another 2 hours or 4 hours, because usually by that time everything's digested out. So just see how your body responds to carb-rich meals. And at that point in time, then you'll know what to do. And this is something I do in my coaching sessions. We change the way you eat, we change how you eat, but without taking away from your culture. You'll still eat your chapatis, your rice, your yams, all of that, but we do it in a cultural, intellectual way that keeps you satisfied, but also keeping your body and your blood sugars safe. So let's summarize. 4 major things that I need you to do. Go and get your blood test done. Your fasting HbA1c, please go. Number 2, track your blood sugars and your moods for a week. So every time you check your bloods after lunch, see how you feel. And just do one thing. Don't track 5,000 things. Just do that for a week. And if you see, okay, every lunchtime I'm quite irritable, write that down. Do that for a week. After a week, then track your how you feel when you wake up and lunch. So keep adding one thing at a time. Yeah? 3, note any recurring symptoms. As I mentioned, the UTI. If you're thirsty every day, I mean, given that you're having 3 liters or 2 liters per day and you're still thirsty, see if you're losing weight, like a lot of weight over a 3 or 4 week period. Make sure you check your weights on a daily basis. And lastly, the 4th one, the most important one, advocate for yourself. Don't wait for these symptoms. If you're unsure, go see your GP. Just go do it. It's better you get in earlier than later. So anything that you may suspect, just go and ask your GP. And if you want, ask them to refer you to a diabetic specialist or an endocrinologist. That's the big word for you, for them to then take it further. Because maybe some GPs might just say, you're totally fine, but ask for these tests and ask to be seen by an endocrinologist or a diabetic specialist if you feel, oh, it runs in my family, oh, I've been losing weight, I've been having a lot of UTIs, I'm really tired. advocate for yourself, because if you don't, no one else will. And I know in our cultures there's a lot of stigma, but this is not about fear. This is about empowerment. Recognizing the signs allows you to protect yourself and grow yourself into the healthiest version of you. So choose nourishment over restriction, choose movement as a form of self-care, and focus on blood sugar balance rather than just your weight. So I want you to know, fatigue isn't a flaw. It's feedback from your body. Don't dismiss the subtle changes. Your body is trying to talk to you. Every little cell is trying to help you get better. And women of color are usually not just tired. They're often underdiagnosed. And if you need help, I've got a tracker linked below. It's a 21-day wellness reset. It's free and it'll help you in so many ways. I'm here to help you. So on that note, if any of this resonated with you, please click the like button, subscribe, share this with a friend, share this with a loved one. I would love to get all of this information out there to help you, because helping you helps me. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.